Just Stop Oil has just stopped. As the environmental protest group put away their paint and their soup forever, we'll ask what impact they had and what form climate activism might take next. Rupert is the co-founder of the Climate Majority Project, which encourages people to get involved in climate action. He was a spokesperson for Extinction Rebellion until 2020, and I asked him first whether now was the right time for Just Stop Oil to end its often polarising campaigns.
What we need is something which mainstream people feel welcomed into and invited into. Stop Oil, we're never going to be able to provide that. And that's why in the Climate Majority Project, our view has passionately been for the last few years that what's essential is to make people feel welcome and to end the endless hunt for attention and controversy.
What did you think Just Stop Oil achieved? How will they be remembered?
For a while, Just Stop Oil certainly drew attention to the need to bring our dependence on oil and gas to an end. But that's, of course, a point that goes far beyond Just Stop Oil. Anybody who understands even the most basic rudiments of the science, anybody who can see the way that our climate has been changing in the last several years for the worse, should realize, of course, we have to reduce our dependence upon fossil fuels. And what's actually necessary now is to find effective ways of organizing that bring people together to bring about that reduction in carbon emissions. And also, and this is crucial, and it's going to become more and more crucial, to start to achieve climate resilience. I mean, to adapt to the changes in our climate that are here and the worst changes that are coming.
What form do you think climate activism is likely to take now? Is there a risk that rather than becoming gentler, it actually might become more extreme or even go underground?
I think that one thing that will happen in the next few years is there'll probably be more acts of ecotage and sabotage as people seek to move even further outside the law in their desperation to try to stop what is otherwise coming. I think what you're also going to see is very large numbers of people stepping into the space of legal protest and, more importantly, legal action of kinds that involve people directly seeking to change their lives together with others. So I think you're going to see diverse forms of action going forward until and unless we get to a situation where the situation is much less bad than it now is.
You say the situation is bad, but if you look at the Labour government here, many governments around the world, they support net zero. They say these are our targets, this is how we'll achieve them. Do we still need environmental protest or pressure groups?
Well, let's look at the Labour government. Unfortunately, they've backed away from so many of their promises in this area. Remember the 28 billion they said they were going to spend on changing our energy system for the better in a green direction? That's basically disappeared now. They're allowing oil companies to drill horizontally in the North Sea so they can tap more and more oil from the rapidly diminishing amount of oil, of course, that's left in the North Sea. Look, the situation is really dire. Right now, we've got, for example, absolutely off-the-scale heat waves going on, records tumbling all across the Middle East and other parts of the world. The situation goes on getting worse until we actually step up.
How can any new environmental pressure groups avoid alienating the public in the future?
Whatever one does, it has to make sense quite easily to ordinary people. So if you're protesting against something, you need to be protesting against something that people can see is bad, which is not, for example, paintings in an exhibition. And more importantly still, we need to be working together for the things that are good. So when people are coming together to create resilience in their communities around food, around water, around disaster preparedness, they're obviously doing something that makes sense, that feels important. And if that's coupled with action to pressurize the government to adequately support those kinds of positive actions, well, then we finally start to get to move together in the direction that we so desperately need to move in.
And that was Rupert of the Climate Majority Project.